Right. I think we will start so we keep on time. But I'd just like to say welcome everyone to this month's Knowledge Nugget, brought to you from Ideas UK and the Innovation Network. We're delighted that the topic for today is developing an innovation culture with a focus on leadership. And I'm quite conscious today that we've got a few people on the line who may not joined us before. So just a quickie about Ideas UK. We've actually been in existence for 30 years now and really do focus on innovation in the workplace, supporting organisations to really get those processes in place to harness the voice of the employees. And when we're talking about those great ideas, I'm also going to do a quick plug for our Idea of the Year competition, which is free for our members to enter. It's now open, and we'd love to get those ideas from you that have really made a difference to your organisation. So if you're interested, do get in touch. But I'm going to stop sharing there and hand over to Grant to introduce our guest speaker for the day. So Grant, over to you.
Brilliant. And thanks, Zena. Grant from Innovation Network, which Rody and I co-founded in 2016. And we're so excited to be here with you today. And we've got a special guest speaker for you today. And Sarah, nice to see you. Sarah was on our Certified Innovation Facilitator program last month. So Sarah, I hope you had a good time and it was great having you there. We got a special guest for you today. So Harvey Wade, who's on part of our Innovation Network of experts, and who we think is the real expert when it comes to leadership and probably more importantly for me, culture change and innovation. So I met Harvey when we were looking for guest speakers because a common topic we get asked about is the challenge of leadership and change and innovation in large corporates. And it's really tough, easy to talk about, hard to do. And Harvey had really done that in a large corporate, started his own consultancy and now worked with a wide range of industries. So he doesn't just talk the talk, he really does walk the walk. So Harvey, thanks so much for giving up your time today. It's great to have you with us.
Grant, you're very kind. Thank you very much.
No, I speak only the truth, my friend.
Checks in the post. But first of all, I want to apologize. My family have been very generous to me in giving me, just as the sun comes out, a cold. So if I'm a little bit nasal and need to kind of suddenly mute to sneeze, I do apologize. It's not the other thingy, it is a cold. Okay, so just before people are worried they might catch something through Zoom. But just in terms of today, I'm going to speak for about probably half an hour, as much as I can, and then we'll get some Q&A, get some questions. So let me just start sharing my screen here. Here we go. Let's just start working out which screen. Which screen do you see? Do you see the main screen or my notes screen?
Looking perfect, Harvey. Good.
Cool. Great stuff. So my name's Harvey Wade. I've been working innovation for far too long. I used to have long, dark hair, and now look what it's done to me. Actually, in COVID, it was long and grey. In terms of my background, I've worked with many organisations in insurance, in technology, in energy, doing some stuff with the World Health Organization, which is interesting. But for me, my real thing is about how to make innovation work within a corporate environment. And so first of all, what I wanted to do is just test you a little bit with something here. And I'd like you to really, as I'm talking this through, get you sort of a little bit active. Those who are sort of multitasking, I just might need a moment of your time right now. So what I'd like you to think about is looking at this sort of step chart. I'd like you to think about an organization that you're part of. And just start to think about where do you think you are, or maybe your team, whatever's going to be most helpful, where you are. So when you think about innovation, are people unaware of innovation and it's perceived as distraction or unnecessary? Now, when I created this 10, 15 years ago, that was a relevant answer, maybe less so these days. People are aware of innovation, but the benefits are known, but they're not experienced personally. You're a supporter of innovation, you're endorsed by leadership, but actually practice is really inconsistent. Okay, we're doing innovation where it's taking place, but it's not core capability. Or we're being innovative. We've moved innovation from an outcome to a business enabler. So just if you want to put in the chat window, I'm going to see if I can spot the chat. Where do you think your business is or your organization is.
All right, and let's see what comes through. So
Just either put unaware, aware, supporter, doing, or being.
and you're in a safe space, although this is
Safe
being
space.
recorded. So we got a supporter, Harvey.
Okay.
We got an aware. We got a being, a supporter, being,
Great.
supporter.
Okay. So it's sort of it's interesting actually. It's where people are. Maybe people are joining here are more onto the upper scale because they're involved in innovation, and maybe that's where they are. So, but thank you very much for those things. I think what's really interesting is if you do this with your team or with people that you're working with, where do they think they are? Because that then helps your conversation. If you think you're at being and they think they're at supporter, you're just going to have this real kind of awkward conversation because you're kind of thinking, this is great. They're not really understanding how to do innovation, maybe the other way around. So it's really good to have that conversation, that level set to start with. For me, being innovative is focusing innovation on key business drivers. It's not about doing innovation for me. It's about what are you using innovation to achieve? And it needs to be, therefore becomes a critical competency of what everyone does every day. So in terms of what we do in terms of Innovate 21, we have our view of actually, we think there's a lot of innovation activity, awful lot of innovation activity. People who do innovation are really, really busy, but are they getting the impact that they really need? Here's a quote from an HBR article by Insight. More than 90% of companies are unhappy with their innovation performance. There's another one by McKinsey's that said 94% of managers are disappointed with their innovation outcomes. And I think just one of the things, it's not that innovation isn't, people aren't busy. It's just, it's not quite hitting the mark. And what that leads me to think is a lot of innovation is this innovation theater. It's kind of, we're doing all the right things. So we are kind of on stage. It looks all very good, but it's maybe a bit of a performance and it's not maybe hitting the key things that people want. You'll be amazed that when people say, okay, who looks after innovation in your organization? And they sort of struggle around and go, oh, yeah, there's that bloke over there in some far off land. He wears chinos and, flip flops and eats diet, drinks Diet Coke and eats pizza. Doesn't happen so much anymore, but it's hard. If you said to somebody who looks after the finance, well, the CFO, it's really clear about very clearly where finance is really important. Innovation, oh yeah, it's really important, but we actually don't know who quite looks after it. And so what I want to sort of say, first of all, is innovation is an enabler, not an outcome. The better question is not how many ideas you've had, not what your ideas have done, but what has it enabled your business to achieve? And so for me, what happens is, what is innovation? I mean, people ask the question, what is innovation? Oh, you're just getting, don't be so geeky about stuff. Is it a verb? Is it a noun? Actually, it does matter, because in an organization, if you say innovation and one person thinks one thing and another person thinks another thing, then it becomes very difficult to make sure you're both trying to achieve the same kind of aim and whether you've had success. So I like to ask this question here about what is the difference between sustaining innovation and disruptive innovation? Do people have an understanding? So does anybody, we can't really do this sort of shout out, can we? So I'll just sort of
oh, we can. I'll shout out for them if you pose the questions.
Okay. What does that people think? I mean, it's a difficult one to type out, but how does sustaining innovation and disruptive innovation differ? If you have no idea, that's fine. I know there's some experience. So those people that they're being innovative, I'm expecting a good answer from you guys. So
let's see. I know both of those are very tough, Harvey. Tough in large organizations, both tough in their own way. Let's see what comes through on the chat.
Anybody putting anything in? I can't see.
Give them a minute. They're tapping. Carpal tunnel coming.
Anything? Oh,
so Emma says, sustaining is constant improvement. Disruptive is a key change that can change an industry.
Hey, I think that. See if any more come through, but I'll take that one. Thanks, Emma. I was expecting great things, as you said, being Neil. Excellent. One is core business, the other one is market changing. I think that's great. Thank you, Neil. One is continuous, the other. Oh, here they come. Fantastic.
Yeah. So sustaining, making things better than they're using the same basics. Disruptive is breaking the ideas and processes to improve. That's a nice one.
Brilliant.
One is continuous, the other episodic and short-lived.
Excellent. So what I would say is, don't worry if you didn't kind of have the answer 3. And yeah, Pablo, Horizon 1, Horizon 3 might be a great answer. So sustaining innovation for me is all about optimizing today. It doesn't mean it's not complex. Just ask the NHS how they're trying to change their computer system. It is very complex, but it's still probably today, trying to improve today. And sustaining innovation is all about defending that repeatable business model, extending the S-curve. You largely know what you're doing there. It's a lower risk. It's probably easier to anticipate the return on investment, moderate returns, continuous improvement. Who said that? I think, was it Debs? It was Chris. Potentially vulnerable to disruption, but it's quite easy to build into the day job. Disruptive innovation is all about exploring tomorrow, and it's all about searching for those new customer value exchanges, which is what I think Debs mentioned and Neil mentioned. And it's higher risk. It's very difficult to anticipate return on investment because guess what? We've not done it before. So how do we really know? And you're just guessing, and people don't like that. They like to know for sure. Potentially can give higher financial returns, not immediately, new potential growth, and it's rarely part of the day job. They both matter, but the challenge is that most companies significantly underinvest in disruptive innovation. They focus on today because they know what they're going to get. And when you don't focus on disruptive innovation, you miss out on potential opportunities and you're at greater vulnerability to market disruption. Those incumbents that are saying, well, this is the way it's done. And then all of a sudden, and I just love the example, whether you like the company or not, or the company's founder. I know Elon Musk has this kind of Marmite kind of sort of sensation, love him or hate him. But it's interesting, car manufacturers are being disrupted by a battery manufacturer, and energy companies are being disrupted by a car manufacturer. And you kind of have this potential that the biggest future competitor is maybe not even in your industry. And as you know, disruption is rife. There's so many facts about how long companies remain in the S&P 500. I love the quote that Airbnb, and that was 2014, and they've been through a bit of a tough time, as every hospitality area has. But Marriott wants to add 30,000 rooms. Airbnb did it in 2 weeks. And it's just that kind of real sort of step change of what the end user gets in a very, very different way. And then we have this hits everybody, and everybody goes, oh yeah, we probably really do need to innovate now. And it's been amazing. You talk to people how their digital agenda has accelerated because it's had to, how people have been working, how people have been getting on. Not saying it's been easy, but it's amazing what sometimes the change has caused. And I'm sure you'll be aware of VUCA, this VUCA world of things are volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And what a lot of people don't know is where VUCA came from. And the reason why with loads of kind of looks like Black Hawk Down is because it came from the US military. And I'm not quite sure of the decade, but they realized that the US battlefield commanders, i.e. those commanders on the battlefield, weren't being able to make a decision fast enough. They had limited information and they had to make a decision to move forward, go back, whatever it might be. But they were often paralyzed because they didn't have enough information to make what they thought was a safe decision, or there's no safe decision on the battlefield, but you know what I mean. And so if you're still on a battlefield, that's not a good situation because you normally get found out quite fast. So this was a way of getting battlefield commanders to move faster when they had this VUCA situation. That obviously applies massively now to organizations. So one of the things I really want to say, I think of innovation not just as getting ideas, but as this strategic tool. So how is innovation going to play a role in your future? Think about this thing. Why do you need to change as an organization? Is it because your profits are declining? Have you got is there structural industry change? Maybe look at the oil and gas industry. You've got rapid technology shifts, car manufacturers, financially underperforming. You've got a strategic preemptive. You just think you ought to do something, or your market's fallen off a cliff. Let's look at a pub, restaurant, or hotel. And I think you have to do something differently. So I think that's just one of the things to really think about, why we need to change. And all of these conversations, when people talk about making and change and doing innovation, you've got to make sure you understand the environment and the conversation that you need to have. Why do we need to change? Because if people don't get why they need to change, they might think, yeah, that idea is brilliant, but why do we need it again? You must always focus innovation on where the need is. And so, and I think based on this, what I often think about is the strategy is about a choice. So because it's going to enable an outcome, I often start when I work with organizations is just thinking what needs to change. Now 2021 is this year, so maybe I need to move that on a little bit now, but it's 2021, 2023 and 2026. What are the things that you need to start thinking about? Oh, I've jumped too many there. What needs to be fixed now? Where should we grow? And what do we need to know more about? And depending on what industry you're in, those timeframes will potentially change quite a lot. But focusing people on what needs to be fixed, where should we grow, and what we need to know about gives you your kind of innovation focus areas. I did this with, I think it was an insurer actually, but they can start to focus on, these are things, you can see there's some things about the now area, things about what we need to be growing in and investigating, and then what things do we actually, it seems a little bit tangible, a bit far off, but actually might come into focus a lot more now. So what I often ask people to do is start to think about, where do you need to change? Where do you need to focus on? And what this gives you is it actually gives you your innovation focus areas. And out of this comes your questions that you ask. This is the problem that I have, or this is the opportunity I have. Therefore, these are the ideas that I would want. So I have this real interesting perspective is I do like ideas. Obviously I would, but I'm more interested in the person having the idea or the teams having the idea. Why are you focusing on that? Why is it important to you? What are you looking at? And I think by having that sort of key understanding of that why question enables you to sort of spot those ideas and also be able to be a little bit more decisive about the ideas that you're not going to take forward. And so once you've got those areas, now you need to say, these are the areas that we want to go, you can focus on. So it's using that strategic focus. But actually the key question I have here, and I think one of the key enablers for innovation is actually the leadership question. And so one of the key enablers or hindrances is how your leaders are involved in innovation. And so the question I have here is if you ask your leader, maybe you are a leader. I know there's some very experienced innovators on the call, but is innovation urgent or important? And one of the things that I find is that if people answer, oh, innovation is very, 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 very urgent. Okay, does that mean you're doing it now? Yes, we are, but I've asked my team to do it because I've got something else to do. It's not important. If innovation is very important, yeah, it's really, really important. So when are you doing it? Well, I've got an away day in 3 months' time. We're going to talk about innovation. Okay, so therefore it's not urgent. What is really important and urgent to you right now? Oh, I've got to get, it's budget time, so I've got to get my budget in right now. If I don't get my budget in, I won't have enough budget for next year. Okay, so that's the most important thing. Yeah, and it's really urgent. Okay, so I can't disturb you. Not really, I've got to go now. And innovation or whatever subject you want to focus needs to become urgent and important. Let me just give you an example. Versus food versus exercise. Food. I managed to have breakfast this morning. I'll probably have lunch and I'll probably have some dinner. And I might have a snack in between just to keep me going. I kind of find eating food quite important, and it also becomes fairly urgent if I don't eat. If I'm going to fast, then I need to know that I'm going to fast and sort of be ready for it for the next day. But with exercise, I also know that's really, really important as well. But I didn't really find time for a run this morning or yesterday. Or if I'm honest, over the weekend. I was busy, I was camping, it was wet, I didn't find the time. So what's really interesting is I know exercise is important, but I just don't seem to have the same drive as I do about eating. And innovation needs to be this thing that's both urgent and important. And that's often where you find where innovation sits in an organization is where you can normally measure how important it is. And I'm sure you know all the stories of organizations that have set their intentions. A company, Ping An, which is one that Alex Osterwalder talks a lot about, an insurance company, they have a co-CEO who just looks after innovation. Alex Osterwalder says if the leader spends less than 40% of their time focusing on innovation, they're not really doing innovation. I think he's intentionally trying to wind people up with that comment, but I think there's a really interesting question. People saying, well, this thing is more important to me, and innovation is focusing on something else. Maybe innovation is not focused on the right thing. So what should innovation need to be focused on to make it really important? And people talk about culture, and I do talk about culture, and I'm going to talk about it in a moment. But for me, leaders, here's the next one, is to create the environment for innovation to thrive, not just survive. There's too many innovations sort of programs that are on sort of life support or kind of, oh, this is hard work. It's like pushing water uphill. Now, innovation is hard. If it was easy, I wouldn't be talking, we wouldn't have Ideas UK and everybody would be doing it. So we know innovation is hard, but sometimes we make it harder than it needs to be. So what do you need to do to enable that strategic focus that people say, actually, innovation is really important and urgent. Let's spend some time. And yes, it's really easy to have time in my diary. And the question I would have, if you're running an innovation team and you want some time with the CEO, how easy is it to get that meeting? If it takes 3 months to get a meeting as CEO, but if you came with something like, so I worked for an energy company and health and safety was really, really important. If I came with a safety issue, I could probably get a meeting that day. Talk about innovation, that's harder to fit in. So that can be just an interesting, and I'm not saying anybody's doing anything wrong. It just gives you an indication of where people are. And why is that? Is innovation thought of this invention stuff we don't have to worry about? Or does innovation need to be readjusted to focus on the critical issues that we have as an organization? You need to be very adaptive in innovation. So, oh, well, I've just launched this challenge, focus on this topic. Yeah, but we don't need that anymore. This is our focus. What do? Do you stop the challenge? Oh, that will give me a bit of a brain ache or a bit of a problem. Or does it make a really good message saying, well, that's where we thought it was, but actually we're now going to adjust and focus on these aspects, but still focused on this here and now. And I can't remember who said it. I think it was Pablo and also Neil. You've got to keep the business running, but you've also got to work out where your business needs to be in a certain amount of time. So what do you focus on? And I don't go too much into those different business models, but that can be absolutely one way of looking at things. So how long have I got? About 5 few minutes. So let's just look at culture. And one of the things I love about this is one of the most horrible questions I ever get asked. How should we reward innovation? Do you ask that question about how should I reward good financial management? No. Do you have an awards program for who did the best budget? No. Why is it that we need it? And I don't know why we need it, but we seem to ask that question. It's because it's different. We want to I know we want to sort of make a show of it. And you normally do awards when you want to kind of reinforce different behaviors. So when I always think about this question, I always think about this acronym, which hopefully, Grant, you can give me straight away.
Walter, and I know what's in it for me. Whew.
So I think what often happens when you're in an innovation program, by the way, that's right answer, Grant, well done. What often happens in an innovation program is that you get focused in your own world, what you're trying to do. And you think, well, I'm talking about innovation all the time. So is everybody else. No, they're not. Sorry, they're not. So you've got to kind of work out what's in their world. And we in design thinking, which I know if you've done any of the courses with Grant and Rody, talk about being empathetic, understanding where your users come from. It's the same with an organization. What's in it for me? I.e., what's in it for a leader to pay attention? What's in it for a middle manager? What's in it for an employee? What's in it for if you've got contractors involved? For them, why should they get involved? what's in it for them. And sometimes we think, oh, I'll give them some cash. How many people know that cash is not a great rewarder? It kind of gives you that instant hit, but maybe 3 months ago we couldn't really spend cash anyway, could we? We're just like, oh, here comes Amazon again. What else shall I get to fill my room? But I think often what I often ask the question is what should you reward? Should you reward innovation outcomes or innovation behaviors? So, quick question: what do you think we should reward? Okay, I'll say both.
Yeah, Ala was saying it's interesting. We need to stimulate people's genius. Then yes, we need to recognize rather than reward. Is that a fair comment? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Neil says behaviors. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Let's see.
Some people don't know. It's fine. It's one of those questions. And actually, Ala, I don't know if I'm quite saying your name right. Thanks, Jenny. But they are both important. You need to consider how you reward both. Thanks, Galaxy S8. I've never talked to a phone before, but thank you very much. Oh, well, I was going to give an aside. I heard a really interesting thing about some kids learnt how they would rename their name under Zoom, and they would call their name buffering ... So they would just and just go on mute, and they'd never get asked any questions because it just looked like they were always connecting. So very innovative kids are. You got to watch them. So outcomes and behaviors, they're both important. So you need to think, if you just reward outcomes, what happens is you only actually almost rewarding successful outcomes. And that's what people think about, a successful idea, an idea that worked. If you're working in Horizon 3, some people mentioned all that kind of exploring mode, you're probably going to find a lot more failures than you will successes. So how do you reward for outcomes? And if you think about what an outcome is in that sort of Horizon 3 area, it's about learning. So how do you reward learning? What have you learned? How do we recognize the learning? And then behaviors are around what is more important in innovation. If you find something's not working, is it more important to keep pushing until it does work? You will make this work. Well, it's going to fail. It fails. It fails. This is the 14th experiment, and it still fails. Is the behavior knowing when to quit, or as we call it, failing fast? So you've got to think about those behaviors. It's about sometimes you do need to keep trying. Dyson, how many prototypes did he do? He knew there's a way of working. I think if he'd been had his own company, they would have said long ago, look, just stop, okay? But he kept going. Eventually, he found something that would work. So it's a kind of rewarding of both. And I find there's a lot of organizations that find it very easy to reward positive innovation outcomes, but find it very hard to reward innovation failures. When I was in Allianz, we started off an innovation program, and one of the categories we had was most what was it? It was the most. It was something like the biggest innovation mistake. It was like a great reward. It was like, I've won the. It was the most heroic failure. That was what it was. Most heroic failure. Sorry, it went completely blank. And not many people wanted to win that one. So we changed it to most heroic innovator, and that sounded a lot better. So it was just quite interesting how putting the word failure, nobody wants it. Putting the word learning, people are more comfortable with it. Put some kind of word like hero or something like that, people are, sort of are happy to go with that. Thanks, Darren. But what I would say is just, if you're not sure about what behaviors, you need to think about what are the innovation behaviors that you need to reward in innovation. And these are some of the things I think about. And curiosity is one. How curious are you laying? And some people are like, look, stop being curious. Just get on with the job I've told you to do. Well, but I was just thinking, boss, what about this thing? If we did that, look, just get on with your job. And you can see, you've probably had that experience. Risk taking, how do you take risk? What does that mean? Stepping out your comfort zone. How do we customer focused? Well, the customers keep asking us for this, but we're doing this. Why can't we change it? Well, that's just our process, and our policies don't allow us to change. Okay. Well, I think our customers will leave if we don't change our policy, so you kind of get into that. I love this one, actually. Passionately dissatisfied. The people that moan, okay, but they're like, yes, they're good problem spotters, but you don't really like being around people that moan. People that are passionately dissatisfied are the ones that actually make change happen. Okay, they're the ones that care enough to do something about the stuff and do something about it. And then continual learning. So those are some of the things I found. I think one of the things I would really start to think about is how do you encourage those things within your organization? And what are the behaviors that you think that you need to display? Absolutely, it completely varies, and so this is a very generic presentation, but I think just thinking about what are those behaviors that you need to encourage, and how do you reward for that? If you reward for innovation in a kind of well done, you've done very well, but in terms of hitting your sales targets, you get a bonus for it. What do people focus on? They focus on the stuff that hits their wallet. And so you've just got to realize that as soon as you start sprinkling money into the equation, weird stuff starts happening. So if you get lots of ideas and you go, I'm going to give £1,000 for the best idea, and then 2 people come up with the same idea. And they're like, probably get into legal issues, don't you? So I don't know quite what happens there. So what happens is, it's that kind of going to a pub, buying a drink. I think we can do that now. But actually, oh yeah, I'll buy the first round. And then you've always got your mate who kind of has to take that very important call at a certain point, or they, oh, where's Fred gone right now? Oh, he's left. I thought it was his round, wasn't it? Oh yeah, where is Fred? The people that kind of walk away all of a sudden, you're still good friends, but you know that if they don't pay for the first round, they get away with it. So just start to think about how you do that. And then just a final thing, just to end with, because I think it's very important if you're innovating within an organization, is innovation is an argument with the current business model. So you will get into conflict. You will be challenged around what you're trying to do, and it will feel tough. So one of the things I always say to anybody that works in innovation spaces, you need to look after yourself. I've seen too many people after 2-3 years just burn out because they took the knocks personally. They didn't get rewarded for it. It was hard work. So do find ways of recovering. How do you need to do that? And just maybe it's going out bird watching for some, maybe it's just getting outside, maybe it's meditation, whatever it might be. Just find the ways of recovering, because innovation is like this roller coaster. You have times where you're feeling like, I'm not doing enough. Okay, just enjoy those times. And there are times when you're going to be working at 200%. So just be aware of that and practice a bit of self-care. So that's it from me. So if you want to get in contact, if you want to link in, please do. Just say where you came from. Because I seem to get a lot of random LinkedIn connections from people at the moment. So of people wanting to help me drive sales. I'm all right, thanks. So
Harvey, sorry about that. That was me.
Yeah, I know.
I thought that was a Nigerian prince. If you just give me £5,000, yeah.
I got one from Thailand the other day, and I thought, oh, a Thailand one now. Hello. Something about my COVID recovery plan. So anyway, I'm going to stop sharing now.
Yeah, and we got a few comments, Harvey. So Ala, do you want to jump in first? If you're happy to unmute, just give us that comment and super article.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you, Harvey, and everyone. My name is Ala Garad. I'm based in Scotland, and I work for Portsmouth University. I think, based on experience as a practitioner, and I used to be an admin for suggestion schemes in at least 4 organizations, and one of them is a gold winner of ideasUK. Ideation and stimulating people ideas and innovation is instrumental for improvement and for, we call it innovation, disruptive innovation or sustainable innovation. At the end, it's innovation, but innovation should be led by learning. And when we say learning, we're talking about learning from employees, learning from suppliers, and every stakeholder. So as a practitioner, and this is my point of view, innovation should be recognized, because people, when they think there is something innate for them, it's not only a financial, we talk about financial and non-financial. So for behavior could be non-financial reward. For outcome, if a company, I was assessing a suggestion scheme in Dubai Aluminium in the past, and a guy made £8 million for the company. Don't you really want to give him some financial reward for this money? So when it brings outcome, then I think it should be rewarded. And I put the link here for the famous story of Richard Montanese, who invented the Cheetos guy. Yeah. So he invented the sauce, Flaming Hot, and he brought 19 billion revenue to PepsiCo, and he's a vice president now. Think of the guy who invented the one-click purchase on Amazon, and they made almost 300 billion of the patent from Amazon, and also the Prime, the subscription in Prime, it's billions of dollars. So we have to be really practical. If people think there is something in it for them, not only financially, but in a position also in career path, then you really encourage them to bring their genius to the business.
I think that's really important. And I mean, I work for Cisco, which really encourages patents. A lot of sort of patents are carried on. One thing I would say is it's not. I never think of innovation as an individual sport. It's a team activity, and I think there's some people that can bring the brilliant idea, but by God, you wouldn't want them to implement it, because it would never get done. So you've got to really think about, I think, the team behind it and what that happens. The other aspect is recognize you are working in a corporate organization, so your reward is paying rations. And that's the challenge. Yes, there should be some recognition. Some people don't want to get paid. There's a fairness thing, and that's down to the organization. But actually, sometimes it's around. It'd be interesting to know whether Richard wanted the to stop being a janitor and to get the role, or whether he actually wanted the money. Sometimes people are driven by different things, and I think it's really important to understand you have lots of different perspectives. There's in some places where first prize is a dinner with the CEO. Second prize is 2 dinners. Some people really don't want that. So I think sometimes you've got to recognize where your organization is. What are some of those things that will move?
I want to just bring in 2 more. Sorry, Allah, I got to cut you. I just want to bring in Pablo. Pablo, if you're there, will you give us that one on organizational structure? Sorry, Allah.
No problem.
And we'll have some time afterwards. I just wanted to.
Sure. I just wanted to share best practice, but later.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Grant and Harvey. Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Actually, I have a few. Just very quick one on organizational structure. What I was saying is that maybe it's quite obvious or evident, but depending on the organizational structure, some of them favor more innovation than others, right? So in very hierarchical type of organizations, I have seen that innovation is more difficult, because you're doing what you've been told to do, and questioning is not part of of doing the job right, So that's something to keep in mind. Now, I like very much what Harvey said on taking care of yourself, mentally and from a motivational point of view, and all the struggles, and that's very important. And I've never heard anyone in all these years talk about this, and it's really key, right? It's really key, because if the people supporting innovation in the company are not taking care of themselves, then it's difficult to help others as well. So finally, I would like to get the opinion or the advice from the speakers. What would be the approach or the best practices to get finance on board? And let me give you a very short background. I used to struggle a lot with finance departments. And one day I realized, well, it's actually not their fault, because in university they're not taught what innovation is. They're not taught about, how to deal with the innovation department. So it's not entirely their fault that they don't get it,
Mm-hmm.
So, but what's the best practices to get finance on board? What would that be?
So I have a number of thoughts here, and I don't know how long I've got to talk about this, but I think the key thing I would always say is, we need to keep good account of money. So that's why they're there, is to make sure we're not wasting our money. The challenge you have is that they're normally following a certain policy. And I've always found with finance areas, and the same as compliance areas, the higher you go up an organization to have a discussion, the better. And you might not be the right person to do that. So you need to think about, how do I get the leader to say, this is our strategic intention and we need the budget to do that. You know, if you were in, I know you won't have that same question, but if you were in Tesla and the finance department said, yes, we're going to be investing in Dogecoin, most finance companies wouldn't, budget areas wouldn't go, oh yeah, that's okay. Yeah, great, go for it. They would go, no, that policy doesn't allow us to do that. So I think for me, the leader kind of will set the intention. The other aspect is also to think about, what are your success measures in those different areas? So when you're working in that core area, it's very easy to see, when I put this much cost in, I get this much profit. And the same with innovation, it's normally easy to predict. But how does it look when you start thinking about those sort of horizon 3? So the phrase I would start to think about is, ask them about their pensions. If they only thought that their pension was invested in savings, which is very safe, you know exactly what return you're going to get, you're not going to get much, would they be happy with it? No, I'm investing in stocks and shares, or maybe I'm, you know, okay, well, why you do? There's a risk to that. You don't know when you're going to get back. Oh, yes, I know, but the trend is over time that this will go up. Oh, great. Well, let me just talk to you about some of the trends I'm seeing. So if you start talking about a portfolio of risk, I think you can get them to say, look, we're not putting all our money into this high risk thing, but this is the way we're thinking about it. And if we don't think about that right now, when are we going to think about it? And we've got to invest it. We might lose it, but our investment is actually learning about it. As they said, oh, we can't value learning. Oh, did you go to university? Yes. Okay, did you know what return you were going to get when you went to university? No, but I knew I'd probably get a chance for a better job. Well, there you go. So there's a, you know, that's why we're doing it. Well, there's a risk that if we don't do this, we won't have a better company if we don't do it. So I think that's the way that sometimes is to kind of use examples that they would understand in their world, like a portfolio pension or a share portfolio, whatever it might be, to help them to get that. But it doesn't actually, I would always sort of go up the tree and say, if that's what the leader wants, the finance department needs to do it. And you need to kind of get out of the way of the bum fight when it happens, but just sort of light the paper and get out of the way. That's my thought. There's a lot more to this, Pablo, but I think that's my thought.
I like that. And Harvey, if you're up for a few minutes, we might wrap up. And then if anyone's keen to stay around, we could have a few minutes to chat. Sure. I'm making a quote for you. Light the paper and then stay out of the way, Harvey. I'm going to TM that for you straight after this. Okay. Zina, do you have a few words to close us off?
Yeah, I mean, it was great to have so many attendees here today. And Harvey, it was such a super talk. I really appreciate you giving your time and your wisdom to us. I love those analogies that you brought in towards the end and giving that frame of reference. I thought they were really, really super. So thank you so much. I guess there's just a couple of things to do. And if you're happy to stay on, we're happy to keep the room open for a little longer for any further questions. But the exciting thing that we do each time is to Grant offers a place on the Certified Innovators course. And I know that a few of our participants from earlier in the year have already taken up a place on one of their programs. So Grant, over to you. Who is going to be the lucky winner of one of your courses this week?
Let's see. So this is the link to it. Remember, any friend of Ideas UK is a friend of ours. So you do get a 50% off discount. If you want to build your Ideas UK pitch of the year, we can help you do it. And the lucky winner today, I'm just doing a random selection. It is Hanan Al-Hutari. Hanan, are you here?
We're definitely on the line earlier. I think I spied.
So Hanan, great. So congrats. You've got a seat on the next Certified Innovation Facilitator. We'd love to have you.
Fantastic. Thank you. So officially, that brings us to the end of our session, but do tune in for our future knowledge nuggets, which are will be advertised probably tomorrow, but we have a couple of different sessions for you coming up in June, a topic called Thinking Differently, and a guy called Steve Hill, who was with McLaren, now with Autocon, one of Richard Branson's companies, really focusing on neurodiversity and the potential benefit that can bring us in innovation. innovation. And then a completely different take on innovation, Willy Wonka style, with Chef John Feeney in July. So I do hope you will join us for that. If you'd like to get in touch, then please do. We're on Twitter at ideasUK official, or you can email me directly. But thank you for joining us today. And as I say, we will keep the line open if you do have any more questions that you'd like to ask Harvey. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks again, Harvey. That was super. And Harvey, if you've got a few minutes and anyone wants to stay on, I know Natalia, Emma, you did have some really great comments there.
Yeah, sure.
And Galaxy S8 loves you, Harvey. I don't know about iPhone, but you got the Galaxy.
We'd love to know who you are, Galaxy S8.
You can find them on LinkedIn, actually.
That's what I was just doing. I was looking up Harvey on LinkedIn, and I was going to say to you, I'm not trying to sell anything, but I forgot to put that in the message. It was really insightful. Guys, sorry, Zena, will you share the presentation? I'd really want to share it with all of my colleagues, because I think this is very timely.
Yeah, of course I will, Natalia. I'm really pleased you enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. Have a good day, everyone.
See you.
Bye, everyone.
And then Harvey, question from Lisa. I don't think we give out slides. Am I right? We're normally just happy to share the recording, but we don't normally share the slides, Lisa. Sorry for that. And then Deb's far.
Oh, Debbie.
Debbie, thank you.
We ought to salute. Sorry, you didn't tell me that. I'm saluting now at Galaxy.
That's your Galaxy S8. No, I'll make sure that you will get the recording sent through. It was really, really great, Harvey. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
And thank you, Grant, for setting it up too.
No, good. Yeah, awesome.
Good, I enjoyed it.
Good, Emma.
I think the thing I was going to mention is about, saying